A 1971 Indianapolis 5.
Looking back on it, it's really difficult to believe.
David Hobbs stays with boyhood friend Dave Batt and his family in Pacific Palisades, California.
Stream here, it's great. We catch a few trout down here.
With the tension of a big race 1 week away, David relaxes and unwinds.
Very English, that's great. You've got to be cool and calm about the whole thing. It's one of those times when you and you alone are in charge of your destiny, and you hold the whole thing in your own hands. I think that's probably one of the things that makes it interesting to people, either consciously or subconsciously. They really are the master of their own destiny out there. I've always had a fairly competitive nature at school. I was hopeless academically, but I was quite good at sports events. I can't bear heights, for instance, but I do like speed. I've got the best of both worlds. I've got the competition, and of course I've got the speed as well.
You're not going to be racing forever.
No, true, but I'll be racing for 5 or 6 years, yeah, I would think, at least. Maybe 10. I'm like Graham, I'll be racing for another 10 or 12 years until I'm an old man staggering around. When I left school, I went to work for the Daimler car company in Coventry, England, who, surprisingly enough, made cars, and was an apprentice there. And there were a lot of other apprentices, and we were all very keen on cars, and we had a little motoring club. We used to do rallies, stuff like that. And I just thought, well, why don't I go racing? Because all you needed was a license and join a club. It's very easy, really. And that's how I started, in a real small way. And it sort of breeds obviously, when you're racing against people at 200, coming up against somebody who you can't trust implicitly in the car. And this breeds, you know, off the track, a similar sort of trust and like. And I'm hoping that by the time next Sunday comes around, we'll be going even more competitively and maybe even win the race. Next Sunday, I'll have 720 horsepower. Now, the 720 horsepower doesn't worry me a bit, but I must say that I wouldn't swap for a jockey for the 1 horsepower at any cost. You can say to yourself, well, if I stick around here and run about 4th or 5th and a couple of hot dogs drop out, I might well win this race. But that's not the way I personally like to go into a race. Whereabouts is that going to go on the car now? About what sort of... Hey?
With the addition of this wing on his Delta Titanium car, David Hobbs hopes to successfully compete with the favored McLaren team in the upcoming Times Grand Prix at Riverside, California.
Like a bugger, isn't it? Well, you hope. Yeah, it's the first time since Le Mans 1971 that I've been able to get any time off at all before a race.
In his home away from home, Hobbs discusses the placement of a new type of seatbelt with Dave Batt.
These belts over here are really the best ones you can get at home in England. And the ones they've got here are very good, but they are a bit central, the way the buckle fits, you know, the ones that the leg straps are a bit centralised to my liking. And we're going to see what we can do today. Whoop. That's still not going to be right, is it? Yeah. I'm still going to go right over the middle of that bit. Get to the end of the straight, rotate. Hey? Well, the crew we've got working on the car, they're all very experienced guys, and they've done a tremendous job in even getting this car to this race at all, because only 5 or 6 weeks ago, it was a few spares and bits and pieces lying around in the shop, and had been bought up at an auction for a song. Everybody said that you'll never do it, you'll never get it running this year. Fantastic, aren't they? Really incredible. Speaking as one that can't even wrap up a bloody Christmas present in paper, how the hell you bend it like that? What? Oh dear, is this a double membership job? In there?
For David Hobbs, the race for the Grand Prix has begun. He and his mechanics work against the clock to get their untested car ready for the Sunday race that is but 1 week away. There are still many unanswered questions.
Are we going to lose or gain weight on this?
Monday morning, 6 days before the race, Hobbs and his crew have the wing on the car for the first time.
How much does that read? This looks like 14.
With last-minute trims and adjustments, the car is ready for the first test run.
we have a wing on the back, that gives us a lot of downforce. I think our downforce just literally pushes the car onto the road and stops it fishtailing around too much. To race successfully, you've got to get to the corner absolutely as fast as you physically can. This is a very exhilarating feeling. To take a corner on the limit, you use up every inch of the road, you slide the car to within literally inches of the edge of the road, or of course just slightly over the edge of the road. It's a tremendous personal challenge to try and get the car to go through a corner as quick as I feel that car can go through. We've had to put on an extra large steering wheel. Normally we wouldn't have a steering wheel as large as that, so my arms move further. Every time I turn the corner, my arms move further than is really absolutely desirable in a racing car. But if you really want to become a racing star, you've just got to accept the fact that it's going to be long and it's going to be difficult and it's going to be very, very frustrating, and it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Friday morning. Practice runs show adjustments are still in order.
What's it doing, David? Lifting?
Yeah, front's lifting and something's knocking somewhere. Check the studs, the wheel studs.
Even down to those seemingly insignificant wheel studs, David and his crew realize from past disappointments that nothing can be taken for granted.
The only thing about racing is that you really go out there to win. And then if I drop out while I'm in the lead, I prefer that to struggling around in about 10th place and gradually easing up through the field as other people drop out and then sort of end up 4th, and everybody says, oh, well, you finished 4th, but you know, that doesn't really mean anything to me at all.
A Formula 5 champion, his racing skill is unquestioned, but that skill is meaningless without a car that will deliver optimum speed. And that only can be accomplished by tuning the car to the 3 straights and 9 turns of Riverside.
Velocity is about 667. Well, we could come down a bit more on the wing. Can we come down any more?
Oh yeah, no problem, right?
Those are about the same height as the old ones, are they?
Well, they cover more.
Yeah, they cover
A bit shorter, but cover more distance.
How much lower are they than the old ones?
Well, the old ones were short, but they were a little bit, they were taller.
You ready? By the time I go out and do 6 laps, 7 laps to warm the car up, that's 9 minutes gone, and then come in, blokes have a look over it, go out and do a few more laps. You know, the time goes by fantastically quickly just when you want it to drag a bit.
Crew Chief Lou Spencer records David's best practice lap at 36.3. If there are no mechanical problems, Hobbs and his crew will have the necessary time to adjust and fine-tune the car to qualify high enough to be a real threat to the McLaren team. Suddenly and unexpectedly, Hobbs returns to the pits.
You got down to 36.3, did you see?
What?
36.3.
Didn't see it.
40, 37, 36.3, yeah. Any comments?
Trouble is the only comment David Hobbs can think of at the moment. So, it's back to the garage.
You know, it didn't feel too bad. Amazing, isn't it? Really, I just gave it a big tweak and I thought, oh yeah, there's something wrong with it. That's not right. But I wouldn't have said it was something different.
A far more dangerous problem has occurred. The main support for the rear suspension is broken. This type of mechanical failure is one of the unexpected causes of serious and fatal accidents.
We're trying so many new things at once, you know, to do a comparison test with these and the others is hopeless. At least we're only a couple of seconds off the pace today.
What was fast lap?
34.45 at Revson.
And your fastest?
36.3. It's only 1.9 off the fastest lap.
Right.
1.9. 1.85. When the cross member finally did break, I'd just done a lap, which was the best lap I've done all day, and I was balked badly on that lap, and I felt pretty confident that I'd have been down into the 34s, which would have brought me down in competitive time with Jackie Stewart.
Riverside, early Saturday morning. With the cross member repaired, Hobbs is turning in even faster practice laps than yesterday. Unexpectedly, Hobbs returns to the pits.
It was fine, and suddenly on that lap it all just went to...
Where'd you feel it?
Back in, just hung itself out going through this thing on the straight.
Through the little kink?
Yeah. They're the most terrific learn.
If there is anything broken now, David's worst fears will have been realized. With only 1 hour left before the final qualifying period, there is no time for repairs.
Felt funny.
No sign of anything. Is it loose feeling?
Going through that leg on the straight, it gave the most horrendous lurch. Thing just went, blah. Never done that before, ever. Fucking enough for me, mate, down there.
Was it just like you hit
Despite the introduction of sophisticated space-age metals and parts to auto racing, the wear and tear on the cars and the drivers is incredible.
Poor David, he's about to have a hemorrhage.
What's the time, though?
Got 40 minutes yet.
How are you getting, David? Vibration or what?
No, it's just the car just gave a lurch.
Not exactly fully full of confidence, is it?
No.
Rev counter's broken now, too. Thing wants scanning, that's what it wants. We'll never get it ready for this afternoon.
Because David cannot qualify this afternoon, he might be out of the race. He shares the problem that a broken assembly has created with Sterling
I
Moss.
don't even know that we can even
But the principle should be established that if you are ready within the qualifying period and you can bona fide show that it wasn't that you just didn't want to be with your fast one or something, you know, like you can.
Although not officially qualifying, David is assured of a starting position on Sunday. Last. Sunday, they started to arrive early at the Riverside International Raceway. By 11 a.m., the parking lots and grandstands were filled to capacity. The pace lap brought the 27 drivers and cars into position for the green flag. The lead cars are orange McLarens, driven by the McLaren team of Dennis Hulme and Peter Revson, followed by Jackie Stewart in a Lola and George Fulmer in another McLaren. At the end of the first lap, David Hobbs has passed 13 cars and incredibly moves into 14th place after starting from last position. The three leaders are Hulme, Revson, and Stewart as the cars move through the S's into turns 5 and 6.
Riverside is quite a challenging course. You've got a very, very long straight, which obviously presents no challenge. From then on, there's a series of sweeping S-bends, which you can take at varying speeds depending on bravery and one thing and another, and the way the car is set up, of course.
Hobbs now is in 11th place, moving up on a Ferrari driven by Jim Adams. At turn 7, it's still Hulme in car 5, Revson in car 7, Stewart in the L&M, and Posey in car 8. The appearance of slowness through the turns is deceptive. 50 to 60 miles an hour on the severest turns is the minimum speed. Hobbs moves to 10th by passing Adams and is gaining on John Courts of Toronto, who is driving the World Lola Chevrolet. Hobbs now moves into 9th place on the straights. Holm and Refson still are setting the pace. As for Hobbs, he has amazingly moved up to 10th place. Hobbs is close on the heels of Redmond, number 38. He has just passed Redmond and is closing in on Maschenbacher's McLaren. Hobbs now goes ahead of Lothar and is only 12 seconds out of 7th. His amazing dash from last has now put him in a position to threaten Holm, Refson, and Stewart, who, as expected, are still holding their positions. All eyes are now on Hobbs in car number 49. Hobbs is moving up on Hiroshi Kazato of Japan in car number 88. Passes him and number 24, Dave Jordan, to move into 5th place behind number 8, Sam Posey. Hobbs is pressing hard on the turns, cutting turn 6 so tight he touches the tire markers. Taking turns that tight can be risky. On the 17th lap, Hobbs runs into trouble. He damages the left front fender on the tire bumpers of turn 5. The car no longer is aerodynamic, virtually lifting off the ground at high speeds and creating a needlessly dangerous situation. Disgustedly, Hobbs pulls into the pits.
Braking through turn 5, I got on some oil and it made the car give a bit of a lurch, and the front end went over the edge of the track, and the edge of the track at turn 5 is marked with half tires. Tires are cut in half and buried in the sand at the edge of the road, and the front end of the car caught those and it just tore the bodywork off. If we'd had another nose, obviously we would have just pulled into the pits, put the nose on and carried on. If that had been a team McLaren, they would have probably accomplished the whole thing in a matter of about 2 minutes at the very outside. With the fender broken like it was, the big problem was that the car just wouldn't handle. If I'd gone absolutely flat out down the straight, the front wheels would have probably come off the floor.
Much about it, David.
With no downforce on the front and the fender missing, the air is going underneath.
Lou Spencer advises David against continuing the race. A week-long series of mechanical failures and problems behind him, David's frustration reaches its peak as he leaves the T22 for the final time.
Would you have stopped him anyhow?
No, not unless it got worse.
Yeah, well,
But it covers.
it's just picking the front up.
Oh.
The air is going up.
The painful evaluation of the day's events begin.
What happened?
Hit those tires.
What happened?
What do you think happened to it? Are you blind?
Team sponsor Sam Winston does his best to console David.
Sure did well, though. Up till then. Sure did, David.
Oh dear, so disappointing though. All that effort and work. Fine, God knows what else.
What turn was it?
I guess they'd call it 5, I suppose. Well, that just me right off, that does.
Out of line, or the car hop, or
It's all the way up there. And it just gave a bit of a slip and touched the tires, that's all there was to it.
it's really going good up till then. Just about ready to.
Where was Posey? What position was he?
Just ahead of you.
I know, what is he though?
He was 4th.
While David Hobbs contemplates what might have been, Denny Holm enjoys what is. a victory in the Los Angeles Time Grand Prix, and a check for $20,000. The crowd at Riverside leaves, not surprised at the result. As for David Hobbs, that result is not disheartening.
Every driver really feels confident that he's obviously either the best or one of the best in the world, and this is the same with all competitive sports. If you're a track athlete or a tennis player, you must obviously consider yourself to be one of the top players in the world if you're going to take the thing up as a profession. And I think that I'm probably one of the best drivers. I often feel sometimes if I could just get the right car and the right set of circumstances, I'd do extremely well. On the other hand, of course, I could be wrong.